through the police body cams, Judge Carol Weimer under the microscope. Mustafa, we have Mustafa from solitary confinement at Prince William County Adult Detention Center. Mustafa, hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Mustafa, thank you for being here. I know you have a lot to say. We have a lot to say. And apparently, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth and Sheriff Glenn Hill is terrified from what you have to say, from what we have to say, and the body cams and the documents and the discovery. That's all over the internet.
TikTok also.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna go live on TikTok. We're gonna continue to build a platform on YouTube. YouTube is a powerful platform. It's a strong platform, and we get to be a little bit more flexible with the conversation that we can have. So we're gonna continue to be on YouTube for now. We want to continue to put all of our effort into this podcast. Mustafa, hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Now, let me see if I can. I'm gonna have everybody on a group chat. Mustafa, how do you feel today?
Just another day, just here.
Another day, just here, just hanging in there. I hear that they're talking about giving you a rec. Now, how long has it been since you've had rec?
I haven't had rec. Like, it's been inconsistent over 6 months. Like, zero rec. You can check the log. You can see how it is. There is no such thing as rec here. But now that they just moved us from D-pod to C-pod,
yeah,
they don't have an excuse now. The door doesn't work or whatever. But what I do tell you is that it is freezing in this pod compared to the other pod. So the temperatures are not consistently regulated. Either it's too freezing or it's super hot. On D-pod, it was like really hot. The air wasn't working. The air here works, but it's super freezing. So just imagine somebody waking you up at 7 o'clock in the morning and they're like, okay, get up. You can't wear your thermals. You have to wear just shorts. Get into rec. It's just a bigger room than your cell. Same type of structure. And rec is what? A bigger room you go into and you just stretch and walk around.
So I know you're
freezing.
You're in solitary confinement, but you're entitled to. They're supposed to give you an hour where you exit, you get out of your room, and they take you into an area where you can walk around, and you're out of your room. So for over 6 months, you haven't had rec. Now I know yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, I haven't received any rec, and I notice now my visits are cut down 10 minutes shorter. From 30 minutes for my visits a week with my family, it's cut down to 20 minutes. So now you're retaliating against me by giving me 20 minutes, and why am I even in solitary confinement to begin with? I'm not causing any problems, and I'm not on top security list. Why am I sitting in a cell in solitary confinement? Limited on what I can do, no access to anything, just white walls. And what's worse is that when I come into the cell, my window to see the pot is all scratched up to the point where it's all blurred. In psychology, it is recognized that if something is blocking your view, it's psychologically stressing. So for us to sit here and act like this is normal, this is not normal. This is beyond abnormal. It's beyond humane. There is no such thing as someone sitting in a cell 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and thinking like this is okay. This is not okay. I'm being treated as a prisoner of war. What kind of war are we fighting here? The war to expose these corrupt tyrants for what they're doing. And Amy Kotlowski Ashworth thinks that this is a concentration camp and we're still sitting in Poland. This is America. We have rights and we have law. We follow the law. She's breaking every rule in the book, and she does not follow the law. Go look at the perfect example of her violation of FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. She just got violated, and she just got fined for not following that law.
And Mustafa, that's another thing that we wanted to talk about is Amy Ashworth. There's an article on Inside Nova where Amy Ashworth is being sued for $22,000, and that's money that's coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. $22,000 because Amy Ashworth did not follow the FOIA law. And what does that mean? In the name of transparency, why can't you release body cams that the community is entitled to? Why can't you release the discovery, the document that the community is entitled to? Now, what are you concealing, Amy Ashworth? Why are you terrified from transparency? Are you protecting police officers in Prince William County? In the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, and the Tatiana Davids case, and other cases in Prince William County, we're finding a specific behavior that Amy Ashworth is engaged in. Is every time you have a police officer that engage in police misconduct, Amy Ashworth seals off their body cam. She goes to a judge, and she gets that body cam sealed.
What do you
And
think here?
before we continue, if I can ask anybody that to make sure that our audio is working on the YouTube. If I can ask anybody that can make sure, let me know that the audio is working on our YouTube channel. We hate to go through the whole entire podcast and then find out. We've had that problem before. Find out that our audio, the equipment is, the audio is not working. All right, while we wait for that, we're going to pull up a couple of body cams. We're going to actually pull up the article. Mama, can you hear me? Are you still on the phone? Mother, hello, hello, hello. Char, if you can do me a favor, hello, ma'am. If you can do me a favor, if you can check the audio on the YouTube, please let us know if the audio is working. We hate to continue a whole entire podcast without audio, right, Mustafa? I mean,
yeah, I'm watching and listening.
Is the YouTube working?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We got
and I can watch.
We got confirmation from Mother herself. We got confirmation from Mother herself that the audio is working. We are.
Okay, there's audio. There's audio.
What's news?
Yeah, Mom. There's audio. People can hear what's going on. You can hear what's going on. People can hear what's going on. So you're telling me Robert Drum, who's the lead investigator in my case, has a conversation with the representative for Rexon, which is the dash camera, for 10 minutes. And you're telling me they never touch up on the topic of, is there audio on the camera?
That's beyond disturbing, Mustafa. That's beyond disturbing. You have a whole entire body cam for 10 minutes where Robert Drum is talking to Rexon and he doesn't ask him where's the audio to his dash camera.
This is on body camera, on Robert Drum's camera, on his body camera recording the conversation of him and this representative for my dash camera. They never talk about anything pertaining to audio in this dash camera. Why do you think we can't sit here and speculate why or think about questions? It's very, very clearly, obviously, that there is audio and they're concealing my audio. There is no argument in the car, and this is an accident, clearly. I'm seeing it as it is. And they're sitting here putting me in solitary confinement. Like, in the meantime, like, this is really, really torture.
Well, yeah, go ahead. Mustafa, at this point, we don't have to speculate. We do not have to speculate. I have the discovery, and in the discovery, there's a document that says Officer Zymus with Digital Forensic with Prince William County says this dash camera does have audio. But of course, Amy Ashworth conceals it for the past 2 years.
And you read in the articles, read in the newspaper. I'm reading here in the newspaper talking about Amy Ashworth statement about this one case about domestic violence. If you know anyone that's going through domestic violence, please ask them to seek help, and she puts the link. This is the biggest domestic violent person I've ever experienced in my life. Amy Kotlarski Ashworth is a jail board member, and she's a Commonwealth attorney. And she is allowing this torture to occur under her watch. She's given these commands, these directives, to torture inmates here in this Prince William County Torture Detention Center. Like, why is this acceptable? Why are we sitting here in total lockdown?
Because Amy Ashworth likes to conceal. Because Amy Ashworth likes to conceal and hide. Whenever you have police misconduct, Amy Ashworth comes to the rescue and she seals off documents and body cam. You don't have to take my word for it. Go to Inside Nova and look her up. There's an article about Amy Ashworth sealing off and denying FOIA. She's being sued for $22,000.
And that's in the records. She can't run away from that. That's a real fine, and she has to pay that, not from her pocket, but from taxpayers' dollars pockets. People are having their rent or their mortgage increased in the county because she is doing a disservice to people by trying to get a false conviction, doing everything in her power. Now the judge has ordered $40,000.
Mustafa, Becky says, free Mustafa. Free Mustafa, and she's here for you, and there's a lot of people that are here for you.
Thank you.
I'm just reading the comments for you as they come.
Oh, thank you so much. God bless you. I really appreciate you supporting me, because when you support me, you're really supporting yourself. This could happen to you. This can happen to your brother, your sister, your siblings, your kids, your grandparents. This can happen to anybody. I got into a car accident, and they're switching it up to murder. I will never, ever in my life commit such a heinous, such a nasty accusation. And these accusations are so fake that we're debunking everything as they come along. They're saying there's no audio. There's no audio. We need a lip reader. Dr. Bruce Sofinsky is a lip reader. What the hell is even that? There's no such thing as a lip reader. And if he's over here taking one clip, two clips, three clips, take the whole thing in perspective, lip reader. What do we need a lip reader for if there is audio in the camera?
There's a document that says, why the heck, Mustafa, why the heck would you need a lip reader? I mean, all over NBC4, Julie Carey comes out and she says, the prosecutor said that she has a lip reader. Well, why do you need a lip reader when in the discovery, Officer Zimus admit that the audio is there? And they have it. It's on the SD cards.
She doesn't have a lip reader. And she said that in May. In May, she said that, what if I have a lip reader? And in July, she brings a doctor under fake credentials. And, this is a lip reader that actually corroborates the same type of behavior that she's bringing about. She's saying that,
you have 1 minute remaining.
And
why
Mustafa,
would someone want to get out of the car if they don't gesture for the door handle? Does that make sense?
On dash camera. You're talking about on dash camera. On dash camera, you can see Dorothy is giving Mustafa direction. And this prosecutor says, the lip reader says that Dorothy says, what did she say? I want to get out of the car. Empress is in the vehicle. She's giving you directions.
Yeah.
Mustafa, I love you. You hang in there. You have 30 seconds.
الله وياك الله وياك مع السلامة حبيبي مع السلامة اوكي ان شاء الله حياتي انت يا حبيبي انت الله وياك
I love you, Mustafa. You take care, okay?
يا خليني اخابر عسر بس شوية شقة 3 دقائق.
Okay.
بعدين
Okay.
لازم اروح.
That sounds good. That sounds
Okay.
good. That sounds good.
بس خلاص.
Okay.
حبيبي انت يلا.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
So just a quick recap. This is a vehicle accident. The Mustafa Al-Jazari case is a vehicle accident where the police department, we have a lot of echo going on. Casey, hello ma'am, if I can have you mute or mute the voice in the background because I think YouTube is kicking in. Your YouTube channel is kicking in. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Okay. So just a quick recap. What is the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? The Mustafa Al-Jazari case is a vehicle accident where the police department took that vehicle accident and falsified every police report in that file, and we have the body cam to prove it. Commonwealth Amy Ashworth for 2 years sealed off the body cams, sealed off the discovery, but unfortunately for her, the body cams that she got Judge Carol Weimer to seal off, this Commonwealth attorney went to Judge Carol Weimer and got him to order a seal on the body cams. Got Judge Weimer to order a seal on the discovery. So no longer that Mustafa can see it, no longer can the family see it, no longer can the community see it. And apparently, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth engages in this behavior, where anytime you have police misconduct, she goes to a judge and she seal off body cams, documents in the discovery. You don't have to take my word for it. Just go over on NBC, on Inside Nova, our local newspaper, and you'll see an article about Amy Ashworth being sued for concealment, denying FOIA. Now, this is a vehicle accident, and the police department turned into a murder. Now, why is the police department falsifying every police report in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? The community does not know. For those that are tuning in and have not been following the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, or have not been following this podcast, Mustafa Al-Jazari had over $500,000 lawsuit against the police. It's a case that started in 2018, and it dragged all the way to the vehicle accident. Over $500,000 lawsuit because the police in 2018 violated Mustafa's right, so he sued them. The police department took advantage of a vehicle accident and turned it into a murder. Now, the prosecutor in court screams that Mustafa is guilty. She screams that he's guilty. But then you're terrified from his dash camera? Mustafa had a dash camera in his vehicle since 2018. At the time when the lawsuit began against the police, the lawyer at the time told Mustafa, you're suing the biggest gang in America. You're going up against the police. Make sure you protect yourself and have a dash camera. Mustafa has a dash camera inside his car. A very sophisticated, high-quality camera. This dash camera faces the outside and faces outward and faces inward. It has audio. It's a very well-known brand. Rexon. If you were to buy a dash camera, and if you wanted to buy the best dash camera, you would buy Rexon. You would go into your local Best Buy and buy a Rexon dash camera. This prosecutor is terrified from Mustafa's Rexon camera. That's weird. You're telling me a prosecutor, a police department is terrified from the evidence? You don't have to take my word for it. Put in a FOIA to Commonwealth Amy Ashworth requesting Mustafa's dash camera. And I'll promise you she's going to deny your FOIA. If it wasn't for this podcast, you would not have access to this dash camera. Everything in the file of Mustafa Al-Jazari, I have it. And I'm actively leaking it to the internet. I've got documents, I've got body cams. Put the dash camera on the podcast. Now the question is, why is this prosecutor terrified from this dash camera? I thought you said Mustafa is guilty. I thought you said this was intentional. Now, what's interesting is on this dash camera, you'll see that Mustafa at one point is cleaning his car. It's cleaning the outside, it's cleaning the inside of the vehicle, it's perfuming his car seat, his girlfriend car seat, 5-year-old Empress car seat in the back. And the question becomes, if this was intentional, by the way, this is one of the points that you'll see on this dash camera. And I'm going to go through them one by one. Commonwealth Amy Ashworth. The question is, for a guy that wants to intentionally crash the vehicle on purpose, what's he doing? Washing his car. And as I'm talking about this dash camera, I'm going to play it in the background. So that way you get to see it. It's posted on our YouTube channel. If you want to see it, if it's not clear on this podcast, I'm going to attempt for it to be as clear as I can. We're working on upgrading our equipment. There's a software that we have to get. We have to get a laptop. And there is a equipment that we're upgrading into where you're going to see the camera have 2 angles. And when we have 2 people on this podcast, every time that person talks, the camera would shift into that. So it's just upgrading the equipment. And on that note, I want to specifically thank...
If it was intentional, Mustafa would not have turned his camera on.
He would not have a dash camera. If it was intentional, why would you have a dash camera and do this in front? I mean, it doesn't make sense. You want to tell me that I'm going to go do something intentional and put a dash camera? I would remove the dash camera. But before we dive into the dash camera, I want to specifically thank Christina Bustos, this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lady who is talking about upgrading our equipment. Earlier you saw the nightmare I was going through when I was trying to start this live, and the static that's coming out of this equipment. I mean, there's a good amount of stress that go into putting this together. Bustos, I love you, ma'am. Pray for you every day. And, you know, I'll tell you, it's a punch to the gut for Amy Ashworth, who prides herself every time she comes out to the community. She says, I'm elected by the people. Well, the people are upgrading our equipment to bring attention to what you do, Amy Ashworth, behind closed doors. Sheriff Glenn Hill says, I'm elected by the people. Well, Sheriff, when you arrested me about 9 months ago and trespassed me off the property, I had jury trial, and the jury, every single person in that jury, all 7 says, you are in the wrong, Sheriff, for arresting him and stepping all over his First Amendment. That's the people, Sheriff. And the longer this goes on, what you do behind closed doors, Sheriff, what you do, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, the community is watching. As a matter of fact, every day we're going to be doing a live broadcast at 2 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. Our 6 o'clock podcast is going to be on the jail property. The jury said the sheriff is in the wrong. The jury says I wasn't guilty. Sheriff Glenn Hill trespassed me, arrested me, and charged me with a misdemeanor for trespassing. He criminally charged me. And for 9 months, I couldn't talk about my brother on that property. Couldn't talk about my brother, the other inmates that's being abused inside that jail. My brother is abused. The inmates that were unalived on the hand of correctional officer in our county jail. I couldn't talk in front of the jail. Sheriff Glenn Hill shut it down. And he said, you're trespassed. You're criminally charged with a misdemeanor, trespassing. And if I have been found guilty, I would have been facing a year in jail. But the community on that jury, they said, Sheriff, you're wrong for stepping on the First Amendment. They saw the video. They heard the sheriff lie on the stand. By the way, it's on the record. The audio is on the internet for the deposition of the sheriff. The deposition of Deputy Sheriff Bishop. They both lied and contradicted each other. It's on the record. I took the stand, and the community, through the jury, said, Sheriff, you stepped on the First Amendment, and not on our watch. So our 6 o'clock podcast is going to be on the property, which is public property, where you're going to see the jail. On the podcast, you're just going to see the jail in the background. It took a minute. 9 months. Took 9 months. But we beat the sheriff in his own house. Sheriff Glenn Hill, I beat you in your own house. How does that feel? How does it feel when the community told you, Sheriff, you're in the wrong? Each one of those jurors told you you're in the wrong. Not one, not two, and like Deputy Sheriff Terry says, 3, not 3. When he arrested me, he said, I told him to do what he's being told. Deputy Sheriff Terry is the deputy sheriff that had his hand in his pocket, watching his other deputy bend my arm after I gave him my arm. Why would you bend my arm when I gave you my arm when you were arresting me? That's excessive force. Major Deputy Terry sat there with his hand in his pocket, getting satisfaction out of his other deputy bending my arm. It's on video. You don't have to take my word for it. You can watch it yourself. He tells my beautiful, beautiful mother and my brother Muhammad, he tells him, I told him to do what he's being told. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, like baseball. He says like baseball. I guess he loves baseball. To do what he's told. I mean, Deputy Terry, I thought we're in America where the First Amendment protects you when you're exercising a First Amendment. I didn't know you deleted that out of our Constitution a long time ago, and we just do what you say, regardless of the First Amendment. Do what I tell you to do. That's what Sheriff Terry says. That's what Sheriff Glenn Hill says. Do what I tell you to do. What am I, your child? What are you, in North Korea? What is this, Russia? I mean, come on, deputy. I know you got a badge and a uniform. You've been there for 20 years. But last time I checked, we gave you that badge, the people, the community. Because of the community, you have a badge and a uniform to protect and serve and honor your oath and protect our constitutional rights. We have a First Amendment, deputy. But to say do what I tell you to do, regardless of the First Amendment, that's a problem, deputy. And it took 9 months for us. But we beat you in your own house. As a matter of fact, Terry, when I subpoenaed you to the stand, you said you were sick. You pretended. You ran away. In the motion to dismiss, you ran away. Where were you? I mean, you felt so strong about my arrest. Where were you when I subpoenaed you to the stand? You ran away. You said, I'm sick. I can't take the stand. That's in the motion to dismiss. Well, in our jury trial, you were sitting in that courtroom. And you got to hear your Sheriff Glenn Hill, lie on the stand. You got to hear your deputy bishop, lie on the stand. And you got to hear me talk. And I guess you found out I'm just as confident on the podcast, in the parking lot, and on the stand. And you got to hear that, Deputy Terry. And you're going to hear more of us in front of the jail. And we're going to have a microphone. I know you like to be on camera. We welcome you to be on camera. We're going to have a microphone for you. We're going to have a chair for you. And you're welcome to be on our podcast and engage us in a conversation. And Deputy, I remind you that we do have a First Amendment. That property is public property. We're not bothering anybody. We're talking about corruption.
They've all been lying since day one on you and Mustafa.
Casey, yes ma'am. We're talking about what they do behind closed doors. And your job, I don't know if you forget, sir, your job is to protect this community, honor our constitutional rights, honor the Constitution. We do have a First Amendment. Your job is to listen to what we talk about and look into it. I mean, we're talking about Mustafa being abused inside the jail. You told me that you personally saw the video of my brother and nothing happened. Well, Deputy Terry, today I have the video, and my brother is getting carried unconscious from one cell into another cell. Six of your correctional officers, Deputy Terry, go into my brother's cell. Rush into that cell. They rush into that cell. And one of your correctional officers already has his taser unholstered, ready to go. Why is that, Deputy Terry? Why is 6 correctional officer aggressively entering my brother's cell? Why is one of those correctional officers has his taser unholstered? Only to take out a half-naked Mustafa, an unconscious Mustafa. He's handcuffed behind his back, and he's being airlifted with his head limped. And one of the correctional officers hits him on the head and kicks him before they take him down the stairs from one cell into another cell, unconscious and half naked. He's limped, and if you watch his feet, it's being airlifted. His feet is barely touching the ground. They take him into another cell. They beat him. They strip him completely naked. They sexually arrest him. They sexually assault him, and then deny him medical. Deputy Terry, why did you lie when I was protesting in your jail parking lot? I remember the conversation. Conversation was, at one point, he says, I'll let you watch it. I can't let Mama watch it because it's sensitive. Immediately, I'm thinking, this deputy is telling me nothing happened. But he's talking about it's too sensitive for Mom not to watch.
Hello, this is a prepaid
Something is off. Well, today, Deputy,
an inmate at the Prince William Manassas jail. To accept
I have the video.
0. To refuse this call, hang up or press 1.
And you've lied,
Your
sir.
current balance is $12.80. subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Mustafa, hello.
Hello. I'm back.
We have Mustafa from solitary confinement, Prince William County Adult Detention Center. Mustafa has been held in a county jail for over 2 years. This whole entire case is a case of a vehicle accident where Mustafa lost his girlfriend and 5-year-old Empress in a vehicle. The whole thing is a vehicle accident. The Commonwealth Attorney and the police department turned a vehicle accident into murder.
Into murder. Really, murder. Like, let's talk about what their accusation is. Their accusation is that Dorothy and I were arguing in the car, and it's a heated argument, and that's what they're saying. Well, let's talk about Robert Drum, the lead investigator, talking to the representative for Rexing, which is the dash camera, for a whole 10 minutes on his body camera. Not once does he touch up on the topic of there's no audio in the car, there's no audio in the camera, how can we retrieve the audio? Never. The whole time he was talking to this representative, not once did he say anything pertaining to audio. Where is this narrative coming from? Let's ask Sarah Savvy and hold her accountable. These prosecutors...
Well, Mustafa, you're talking about the same investigator that falsified your statement on the police report. That's the same investigator that's calling Rexon and says mysteriously there's no audio on this dash camera.
Why would Robert Drum have a conversation with me on the phone and not record it on his body camera? And my brother had to record it. Had my brother not recorded that conversation, it would have been my word against a police officer who's tenured, who's been there for 20 years. Who do you think is going to win in court? Obviously, the pig. The pig is going to win. Because the pig always wins, but not today. Now we have a whole different type of farm, a whole different type of platform. We're going to expose these tyrants for what they're doing on American soil to Americans. This is me, this could be you. And if it happens to me, it's going to happen to you. And if you're okay with that, then go back to sleep. Wake up, America. It's time to wake up. It's time to expose what the hell is happening underground behind closed doors on American soil. Just because this is a private jail farm, that doesn't mean that we're a bunch of animals.
This is a private jail. This is a private jail, and it makes a lot of money into our county. It doesn't fall under DOC, Department of Corrections.
Yeah, and they got us sitting here in a small room, white walls, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And now they just moved us from D-pod to C-pod. What's the difference? One area has torture, and the other area has more torture. It's almost like you feel like the presence of people in here that used to be screaming. I've heard so many horrible, horrific stories about people that's been tortured here.
You're talking about the pods that you got transferred to?
Yeah.
You know, I want to ask you. Yesterday you were telling me about your window. What's going on with your window?
Okay, so previously they had a tarp cover on my window. Okay, so I move into the cell and my window is all scratched up with a metal. So if you look through the window, it's really blurred out to the point where it blocks your view. So without having the tarp on my window, they actually have a window that sees into the pod that's scratched up. Of all the windows, why is my window the only one that's scratched up in a manner that's blocking my view? It's just really weird. Someone had to have a really sharp metal to scratch this window like that. And for them not to fix this issue immediately, that shows that it's actually been done intentional. They purposely put me in this cell with a scratched up window so I can't see out my window.
So you're telling me they had a cover on your window, and we all got to see that cover on one of the body cams that got released to the community. So you tell me that they had a cover on your window, and now they take that window cover off, only to transfer you to another cell that has a window that's so scratched up that's just as equivalent as covering your window?
Exactly, but without having the tarp. So like the whole thing, the evil, they're just a little bit more sophisticated with their evilness. But the exposure is real. At least I'm able to talk about it and tell you. Now, look at what happened to my visit. My visits, I'm supposed to get 30 minutes. Now it's cut down to 20 minutes because I'm in orange. What does that mean? I've been in orange this whole time. They're trying to label me as maximum security. What have I done? I've been here for the past 2 years. All I've experienced is just beatings, and more beatings on top of other beatings. Leave me alone. Stop harassing me. Stop torturing me. Just leave me alone. Let me just have my food like a normal person. For a whole year, they've been bringing my food in a bag, trying to act like they're bringing me whatever, but that's more targeted. So I told them, put my food on the cart like everybody else. Treat me like a regular person. Leave me alone. I don't want to interact with the tyrants. You have the people that beat me up, that has abused me, that are interacting with me. Is that appropriate? When you have an abuser or an allegation, let's say just an allegation, someone accusing someone of something, would you have this person interact with that person? No. What's more appropriate, you would say, let's keep separate. Keep these individuals separate. These correctional officers have put their hands on me, attempted to murder me. And you're telling me that it's appropriate for them to interact with me? They come around with their body camera in their hand, putting it in my face. I'm like, bro, the body camera is actually to protect me from you. You are the person that put your hands on me while I was vulnerable, sitting here in my cell. You come inside my cell, break my arm, stop me out until I black out. I wake up in a bloodbath. Why?
Well, unfortunately for them, these videos are out. The community is watching the CCTV videos. The Department of Justice is watching. We supplied. At this point, we're not asking the Department of Justice to investigate. No, we're supplying this to the Department of Justice. We're holding podcasts in front of the Department of Justice, and they're a heartbeat away from looking into what's going on. So we asked Sheriff Glenn Hill, investigate your correctional officer before you're investigated, sir.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You're asking someone who violated your First Amendment while you're protesting on public domain, asserting your right, your First Amendment to your right to protest, your right to freedom of speech. You have the sheriff himself arrest you under Amy Kotlowski Ashford's command. The Commonwealth attorney tells him, arrest him, and the sheriff does not even uphold the oath. He's supposed to serve and protect. Uphold your oath. What are you working? They got so comfortable that they forgot what they're standing there for. He arrested you. So you're asking the sheriff who violated you to go ahead and investigate these correctional officers? Come on, man. You have to understand that when there is mold, you have to throw out the whole orange or an apple or the whole fruit. If there is mold, it has already spread from the base. You can't just take mold out and think like the stench is not there. This whole thing stinks. It stinks from the base, and it stinks from Amy Ashworth's office, and we need to get this cancer out because this cancer is spreading, and it's already spread so far that it's too late for you to try to fix or train or whatever. The tyrants that have put their hands on vulnerable inmates have to be held accountable under the color of law. And if they don't get held accountable under the color of law in America, then this is not America. We're just like Zimbabwe, Vietnam, or China, or any other third world country. We are living in India, and this is not India. And if we were in India today, send me to some place deep in the ocean somewhere and tell me this is not America. This is America, and this is not the America that I know. And I have never in my life had anyone put their hands on me without justice being served. And we're waiting for the court of law for these damn judges to get the fuck up and do their goddamn job.
Well,
Judge Weimer doing nasty things behind the bench. He needs to stop.
Well,
I promise you. I
promise you. Yeah, I promise you.
Him to stop.
Well, I promise you.
I promise you. Forced to stop. You have to put enough pressure on these tyrants and telling these higher authorities to hold these tyrants in a state level, to hold them accountable.
I promise you, those officials in the government are watching, and they're going to hold him accountable. By law, that he's going to be held accountable. I mean, Judge Weimer is in a lot of trouble. Sheriff Glenn Hill is in a lot of trouble. I mean, his deposition on the stand is on the internet. And I'm not recording. I'm not, Mustafa.
That's right.
The beautiful part about this whole thing is at the door, they have a giant machine. They scan you from head to toe. So they know I'm not recording. But I'll tell you who's recording and supplying me is Sheriff. Your own deputies are supplying me with recordings of proceeding inside the courts. So,
Look,
Sheriff, your deputies do not support what you do behind closed doors. And now the community got to hear that you lied on the stand. And Judge Weimer, the body cams that he sealed are all over the internet. And the government is watching. The DOJ is watching. And he's going to be held accountable for protecting a prosecutor that's lying. Yeah.
let me tell you what their plot was. Their plot was to get you. They charge you with trespassing, which is a misdemeanor, but it does hold jail time.
A whole entire year. Mustafa, a whole entire year.
I know, pain and suffering, but you could have been in this jail yourself. And I could see the look and the behavior of these correctional officers. They couldn't wait to put their hands on you. They couldn't wait. They really wanted you so bad. They wanted a piece of you. But look at what happened. They plan and God's plan. You got acquitted unanimously. These jurors saw the truth, whether these prosecutors liked it or not. And Sharon Pandak, the lawyer that's been for this jail for decades, she just got fired. Donald Trump said, "You're fired." And I say, "You're fired." The whole world said, "You're fired." Now who's going to protect you? Now who's going to protect you from God's punishment?
You know, Mustafa,
God's
the sheriff got so upset for losing in court that he fired Pandak. Pandak,
Right,
the
that's
jail
what I
lawyer.
said.
That's the same. Sharon Pandak is the same. Mustafa, Sharon Pandak is the same lawyer that when you were getting choked out and getting beaten up by a correctional officer, we emailed her. We called and emailed her. She didn't do anything. That's the same lawyer that got fired.
Exactly. So now we have exposed the tyrants for what they're doing, for who they are, and now we need to expose the details of these body cameras. They need to come out. They come out in chronological order, and people get to see what the hell these police officers are doing with their money. These cameras, these body cameras are not, they don't belong to these officers, and they don't belong to the police department. They are paid by tax-paying citizens. People have paid for these equipment. Why do you have Chad Mason, a police officer, telling another officer, make sure your body camera is off?
That's on body cam, Mustafa. That's on body cam. He's telling the other officer, make sure your camera is off for all of it. That's captured on body cam.
Why are we doing this? And now what's really nice is that this actually gets captured. And then the prosecutor seals it with the judge's order.
Yeah.
Everyone is working in each other's pocket from their positions. They're helping and aiding each other. This is aiding and abetting to crimes that are being committed by these state officials. And we have to hold them accountable. If we don't, they're going to continue their tyranny. And if you're okay with it, then what are we standing for? What are we going to work for? You get into a car accident today, now tomorrow you're being called a murderer. And they're calling me a baby killer. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is a baby killer? I have my niece who's 5 years old, and I can't imagine anyone harming her with a speck of a touch. I can't imagine anyone harming a child. I told Dorothy to buckle Empress into the seatbelt. I told Dorothy that you cannot put this child in my vehicle if she doesn't have a child seat. We ordered the child seat from Amazon. I was borrowing my brother's child seat for weeks, and he didn't have a child seat for his own daughter. He had to go buy another child seat because I borrowed his child seat for Empress. And then I gave it back, and we ordered one from Amazon. I made sure safety first. I get into a car accident, I'm being called a murderer.
Well, Mustafa, the Commonwealth attorney, the prosecutor, is terrified from the dash camera because it shows the whole entire thing is a vehicle accident. I mean, this Commonwealth attorney to today, no one can FOIA request the dash camera.
I wonder why you can't FOIA request anything from Commonwealth Amy Kotlowski Ashford. Because look, it's precedence now. She has been charged with a FOIA violation, $22,000. Who has to pay that? The citizens of Prince William County have to pay this $22,000. It has to be evenly distributed among everyone to pay Amy Kotlowski Ashford's negligence. mistake, evil, intentional. She intentionally disregarded the law. She intentionally did not do an interest for the people. She's acting in her own personal power, her own capacity, and she cannot do that. As Commonwealth attorney, she has to be a representative for the people, for the Commonwealth. For the Commonwealth's interest, not for her own interest because she hates me. This is a domestic terrorist that's sitting in office today that we need to oust out. She needs to get the hell out.
Oh, it's happening, Mustafa. It's happening. You've got body cams all over the internet. You've got documents from Discovery all over the internet. Inside Nova is talking about her sealing off FOIA, so it's coming.
She can't conceal everything. At some point, she farted and she thought she could hide the smell. At this point right now...
Well, it's been 2 years. We've been tolerating it.
And all of her tyrants have been farting. And
can't take it anymore.
Cannot be contained.
Can't take it anymore.
Cannot be contained. Do you understand what that means? They cannot contain this smell because it smells so bad that it's actually starting to hurt everyone's nose.
Man, Mustafa, you should have seen.
Smell, come back to your senses.
Mustafa, you should have seen the Sheriff Glenn Hill, when he took the stand on the in court. They barely got him to get up.
Look, man.
It was bad.
Sheriff Glenn Hill.
It was.
Look at Sheriff Scott Jenkins from Culpeper County. What happened to him? His fat ass is going to prison for the rest of his fucking life. That's Scott Jenkins.
Sheriff Glenn Hill is watching. He's watching.
And that's Sheriff Glenn Hill. You're next. Scott Jenkins is fat. Do you know how many trays you're gonna have to eat to fulfill that fat belly of yours? Scott Jenkins have violated the law, and he got convicted. Out of Culpeper County, Scott Jenkins is serving the rest of his life in prison. Sheriff Glenn Hill, you're next. You understand what prison time means? That means you're gonna have to bend over to the front and touch your toe. You better invest on soap on a rope. That's a message for all these correctional officers that put their hands on me.
Sheriff Glenn Hill, your time is coming. You're going to be held accountable by law. And if you haven't figured that out, sir, we're still out here. We're going to be, we're at 6 o'clock. We have an appointment with you. We're going to be podcasting where the jail is going to be right behind us. And we're going to have a beautiful, beautiful podcast. You can't get rid of us, sir. You cannot get rid of us. We do have a First Amendment. Yes.
And you only multiply. Look, let me tell you something real quick.
You know, I told Mustafa, I told Terry, Deputy Terry, Terry, the community is here. He said, the community is not here. I looked, Shelly was with me. I said, Terry, Shelly is here. And at the time, Shelly was with me. He said, that's only one Shelly. I was like, Terry, sir, the longer this goes on, you're going to have so many Shellys out here. It's going to expose what you do behind closed doors.
Look, man, the voice here is loud, but it's only
going to have a lot of Shellys out here for you, sir. A lot of Shellys. Mustafa, Casey, Regina is here, and everybody's here. They can hear you.
Hey, Casey, Regina. And by the way, Casey, I got your letter. You and Don, I got both of your letters. It's going to take me a little while to respond. I just have to, sit down and, I've been trying to settle in to my new apartment and just getting acquainted with this environment. So I'm going to respond to you very soon and send you a letter back. But I just want to tell you that
you said apartment? Did you just say apartment?
Yeah, my new apartment.
There you go. There you go. Are the correctional officer giving you room service? Okay. Are they on their customer service is huge because apparently 100%. We're taking complaints on this podcast.
That's the studio apartment.
I do have a friend in that jail, is a correctional officer that I always reach out on this podcast, and it's beautiful that when I got he witnessed the whole entire thing. When I got arrested, I remember being in my cell when Sheriff Glenn Hill arrested me. I remember this one correctional officer that came up to the window and was like, and then he gives me the thumbs up. I'm like, God damn, what the fuck is going on here? And later I found out this correctional officer, his name, and he's been following our podcast. Now, this correctional officer, I want to reach out to him. He has a good relationship with my brother.
What's his name? What is his name? What is your name?
Well, I'm building up to it, Princess. I'm building up to it. I want to specifically reach out to Correctional Officer Bernie. Brother, I want to specifically thank you for your service. I want to tell you that there is a lot of correctional officer in that jail that can learn from you.
He's a good officer, actually.
He ran after my brother when after the visit, Mustafa, and he says, "Tell your brother I said hello." My brother Muhammad tells Correctional Officer Bernie, "You know what my brother would tell you on the podcast?" He says, "What?" He says, "Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment." He says, "I got you. I got you." So, on a serious note, we love you, brother. We thank you for your service. And I want to just pedal back on that note. There is a lot of correctional officers in that jail that are doing their job, that are protecting the inmates, that are doing their job and serving this community. We're not talking about every correctional officer here. We're talking about selected individuals that we have evidence that they're abusing inmates. I have a CCTV video of correctional officer abusing Mustafa. I have inmates coming out, and we're asking the sheriff, we're asking Deputy Terry to look into his correctional officers before the Department of Justice look into you, sir.
What time is it?
Mustafa, it is 3:06.
Alright, let me know when it's 3:11. Let me call real quick. But I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
Alright, I just want to say one thing. I'm 35 years old. I've lived in America all my life. For someone to come here and treat me like a foreigner, like I don't understand what the hell's going on here, you must be out of your mind and you must be tripping. Tie your shoelaces. Let's get to the facts. We have very important facts that we have to discuss. These body cameras have to be displayed and we have to talk about them. Now that you have access to all this evidence, we get to talk about real facts. These are events that are actually occurring. Dorothy and Empress were in my vehicle. We got into a car accident, and you're telling me the first responders, the police officers, put them in an ambulance during rush hour and helicoptered me to Fairfax Hospital. And they're trying to downplay my injuries and say there's nothing wrong with me, I'm conscious, and I'm standing. How can I be standing up and laying down at the same time? One report says I'm standing up, one report says I'm laying on the floor. Which one is it? Am I laying down or am I standing up? We have to ask questions. Without questions, we can't get answers. And we have all the answers in our hands. You have gold in your hand. All we have to do is just figure out the truth from whatever is false. Anytime Sarah Sammy, the prosecutor, and Stephanie Buck state things that are baseless with no facts, we have to hold them accountable for what they say. They have been calling me a baby killer this whole time. They have subjected me to violence this whole time. They put me in an environment, a controlled environment, where they classify and profile every inmate when they come in here. They put me in violent situations. They have been torturing me for the past 2 years. They have attacked me and murdered my soul. But hey, I revived and I'm back. But they attempted to physically kill me.
We're here with you. Mustafa, we're here with you. You have a giant voice out in the community. As a matter of fact, on this podcast, there is a giant truck right behind me that says Free Mustafa Al-Jazari. Covered up. Beautifully covered up. That says Free Mustafa Al-Jazari. That truck is out in the community. We have a podcast in the middle of the community. We have a podcast in the jail parking lot. And we have a podcast at the Department of Justice. Sheriff Glenn Hill, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, Judge Weimer, you're not going to be able to shut Mustafa's voice. You're not going to, the truth is coming out. We've got body cams, we've got documents. The Commonwealth attorneys tell the community, she seals off everything, seal off body cam, document, dash camera, and she tells you, take my word for it, Mustafa is guilty. This is intentional. This is not an accident. Well, I come out and I tell you, you don't have to take my word for it. I have the dash camera, I have body cam, and I have document. And Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, you've got a bad reputation out here, ma'am. And Sod Nova, apparently, is turning on you and says, you like concealing body cams, documents, you like concealing FOIA. Mustafa, before we end the podcast, do you want to say anything in closing?
Yeah, I just want to say exactly what Chief Newsham said. That's the police chief of Prince William County. He said accountability. And absolutely, we need to hold Chief Newsham accountable for his officers conducting misconduct. Chief Newsham, your job is on the line. Amy Kotlowski Ashworth, your liberty is on the line. You're going to prison for the rest of your life for the torture that you have been committing here. Not directly, but under your command, under your supervision. As a jail board member, you are prosecuting and you're killing people. You're murdering people under your watch. Under your watch. You're commanding your officers to commit murder. And that is a crime against not only Americans, not in American law, this is a crime against humanity. And we're going to hold you accountable as the people, and you will be judged by the people, and we will prevail. God is going to win, whether you like it or not.
I love you, Mustafa.
We can end this podcast on
I love you, Mustafa. I want to specifically thank Shelly. Shelly does a lot behind closed doors. Ma'am, thank you for being there. I pray for you every day. I want to specifically thank Bustos, Christina Bustos. Ma'am, what you're doing to you being here is more than enough. And to reach out to me and tell me you're upgrading the equipment, ma'am, I can't thank you enough for what you do. And that is a testament to what we're telling Sheriff Glenn Hill and Amy Ashworth. They pride themselves that they're for the people, and the people elected them here. Well, I tell Sheriff Glenn Hill and Amy Ashworth, the people are upgrading our equipment to bring light to what you do behind closed doors. Bustos, I love you, ma'am. I want to specifically thank Farah, Casey, Becky. Time is 3:12. I want to thank Stefana, Char, and we can't forget our good friend, Sheriff Dre. I say Sheriff Dre because we're campaigning for him, where we're going to remove Sheriff Glenn Hill and elect that man into the sheriff. He can run laps around Sheriff Glenn Hill if he was the sheriff. Our good friend Dre, you might see him on the podcast later. I love everybody. Thank you for being there. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cam. Judge Carol Weimer under the microscope.